So welcome everybody to session one of the Net Life Agent and 36 to Life moving forward as we know it. This is all an experiment. What I mean by experiment is I believe that life is beta because you're always looking to adjust and you're never have arrived, so to speak. So before the start of the year, Mike and Julie and I were starting to talk, and here's one of the things I often ask myself. How can I help my A's? So one of the things that we're going to talk about today is who are your A's? Who can give me a definition of what it is to be an A? Chris.
So A's are individuals that you want to help, that want to help you. They're people who will endorse you. People say, yeah, that's the person you want to be with. They're supporting you when you don't even know you need to be supported. And they're people that you believe that you can help achieve things in their life.
All that in a bag of chips. And there's no one definition to it yet. What we're going to do is the next 4 weeks, what we're going to do is we're going to be speaking towards this. And I have a challenge for those overachievers out there. Who are the overachievers that I should be aware of? So what we're going to do is we're going to be going through this form right here. And for you overachievers, here's your challenge for next week. So this is challenge number 1. Be able to recite this. Now, we know that anytime we're moving towards something, the first thing that we need to do is we need to memorize. So we're going to go through the 6 C's, which I don't believe that we went through on Monday or Friday. For those of you that are interested and weren't at Friday, I thought it was really good. We got to be careful when we're sharing our story, when our story can hurt people that are around us. I believe that you can share that in smaller groups. You don't share that out to the masses. You've oftentimes have people waiting to write books and tell people have deceased to honor where they're at. Yet I digress. So let's look at this. There's the 6 C's, and you're going to see a theme in everything that I do is we try to find, we try to help have the language. And I remember we originally had 4 C's, and one of my A's, whose name is Amy Brohammer, said, "Hey, dude, you're 6s, you're not 4. So we got to figure out how to make this have 6 C's." So who can tell me what the first C is?
Commitment.
Commitment. And so the first thing I'm going to ask yourself is, what are you truly committed to? Now, here's what I know about commitments is I want to get that first loss right away because that tells me if I'm interested or if I'm committed. Meaning, I remember when I just joined EXP and Monica Weekly joined through Jackie Bowman, I was pissed. I wasn't pissed at Jackie. I wasn't pissed at Monica. I was pissed at myself because I could have had her in my organization if I would have just asked. I didn't ask because I was too afraid of offending someone, too afraid of the awkward conversation, where that first loss has actually made me more money than any of the victories that I've had, because that's where I found out that I was committed. So once we're committed, and all of you, if you want to be on this call, you're going to pay in different ways. Most of you didn't pay $296. So you got some sort of discount or some sort of less from a financial standpoint. So you're going to pay in different ways. One of the ways that you're going to pay is by being committed to do the work, because unless you do the work, you don't need another fucking training. What you need to do is go take action. Fair or unfair? And I only get 6 F-bombs a call, so I'm going to do my best to use them strategically. So the second C is we're going to connect. We're going to connect with 50 people a day. Now, the reason we connect with 50 people a day is it's math. If we connect with 50 people a day, that's 18,000 over the course of the year. Well, the easiest way to connect with people is through social media. Do we all agree with that? Now, it's not the only way. It's not the best way. All we're looking to do is get the skill set of getting the 50, which is the red. We got the mirror thing here, so I got to switch it. Skill set, time on task. So the easiest way for us to score this is through social media. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to connect in different ways. So for example, who's a hockey fan here? Julie, who's your team? Duh.
The Lightning.
The Lightning. So if you were in Detroit and you saw me walk past with a Lightning jersey on, are you going to say, dude?
I would.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because what we do is we look for familiarity, right? So Just something as simple as me wearing a Tampa jersey, especially being in Detroit, because that's going to be less likely than if we were both in Tampa, right? So the 50 is getting 50 people a day to say, I see you, you see me. Doesn't mean that it's positive. It could be negative. So rule number one of Fight Club. Okay, it's not Fight Club, yet it made some of you laugh, and I can tell who's watched the movie. Rule number one is you're going to post every single day, which means I probably want to be Facebook friends with you so I can cyber stalk you to see if you're actually doing the work. Because if you're not doing the work, who thinks that I'll make an example out of one of you and say, hey, Max, you didn't post today, you're out, and use you as an example to the rest of the group? Meaning I don't anticipate at the end of this that all of you will make it all the way through this 36 to life. Because the reality is, if somebody doesn't post every single day and they're not willing to do the work, who thinks I don't want to spend oxygen with them? I don't want to spend time and energy if they're not willing to do the basic level of what's going to help them be successful. So we're going to post every single day. When somebody likes your post, that's one of the 50. Everybody got it? Now, because we are looking to activate the social media algorithms to work for us. Now, I'm going to use Facebook as the term. If you use Instagram for everything, use Instagram. Yet we know that Facebook has the greatest reach. So that's where we're going to focus on. And I'll always get this question, well, Hank, can I do 25 on Instagram and 25 on Facebook? No. Here's why. We got to have enough lift to get it off, where we got to pick one to focus on. And the default is typically Facebook, and then you can venture off from there. Yet we want to use that as the benchmark. Is everybody good with that? Now, my goal is to have you go like 50 posts a day. That's the connect. Now, who thinks a week from now, I might hijack one of your Facebooks and I can probably go look through your settings and see if you were liking people's posts? Who thinks I have the ability to inspect what I expect? So Jennifer, since you raised your hand right away, if I go to your Facebook and you said that it was important for you to do it, and it was important for you to succeed in this class, and I go there and I see that you haven't posted every single day, that's a strike. And then I say, who's willing to be uncomfortable? And Jennifer raises her hand, and then we go and we can only see that you only like 25 comments. Do we get that time on task will be talent every single time? The person that actually goes and does the work, even if they have less talent, they're more likely to win in the long game. We understand that, right, Jennifer? So yes, for those of you that are willing to be uncomfortable, Mike and Julie and I might do audits on what you're saying versus what you're actually doing. Who does that make feel a little bit uncomfortable? Here's what I know. Those who are willing to be a little bit uncomfortable, that's where all the magic's going to happen. So this week, here's what we're going to do is we're going to really hold the standard on the A's, and we're really going to hold the standards on the 50. Now, I'm going to go through the rest of the 6 C's just as the basis, but we're going to dial down on those too. So the next one is contact. Now, some of us have taken another old class, get it? Old, missing a letter, old class where they said 20 contacts a day. And you know what? That math works out pretty well. 20 contacts a day, 100 contacts a week, 100 contacts a week times 50. That's what? 100 times 50 is what? Oh, you guys graduated from the same math class I did, and you can only do 3%. What's 3% of 300,000? 9,000. Like, we know that shit, but we can't do 50 times 100. Good God.
5,000.
5,000. So if you have 5,000 contacts, is there a good chance that there's 36 deals in there? Well, Hank, what if I don't want to do 36 deals? That's a great question. I want you to figure out what your net life number is. Meaning your net life number might be 24 deals. It might be 18 deals. And if you have questions around that, I want you to bring that to Wednesday's call, and we will coach to that and help you figure out what your net life transaction number is through asking questions. And Mike and Julie can be happy to help you with that too, because 60 isn't the answer. Raise your average sale price. Like, there's law of diminishing returns with more transactions you do from our perspective. So let's look at this. What does constitute a contact? And here's my simple explanation: an exchange of energy. Now, at the 50, there's no exchange of energy. They can just feel your energy sometimes. For example, if Julie and I are walking down the street and she goes, Go Tampa. We might not actually exchange together, but I could feel her energy. And I just keep walking because she's a little hottie and I'm with my wife. And I'm like, good Lord, I'm not risking tonight. Come on, that was fun, wasn't it? So and by the way, if I offend somebody on this call, just let me know. Sometimes I say stupid shit and it's not meant that way. And you also need to relax a little bit because there's no ill-intended bone in this body. So if we look at that, that doesn't mean that's a 20 by us just saying, hey, I see you, you see me. It's an actual energy exchange. Who thinks when she says, hey, go Lightning, and we stop and we say, go Lightning, where are you from? And she goes, I'm from Tampa. But you wouldn't most likely say Tampa. You'd probably say something a little bit more specific, wouldn't you? So if you said Tampa, I'd say, what part?
Exactly. I say Tampa. Yeah.
And then I'd say, what part?
Riverview.
Riverview. Where is that in regards to Hogan's old hotel?
I don't even know where Hogan's old, where's that?
Who can feel that energy exchange where there's some sort of chemistry there where it's not like, what the fuck? What are you talking about? That wasn't a full F-bomb. Yet, you know, when you have that energy exchange where you can say friendly or foe and you get that feedback, right? It's called, everybody write this down, emotional intelligence. You will not do well with me if you have low EQ. Fair? So when we look at this, once we get to the 20, that's the equivalent of a handshake. Who's ever shook someone's hand and they try to squeeze it and enforce their will and pull you in? And what do you guys do when that happens? Here's what I do. I call it out. Oh, are you a tough guy? Oh, all 150 pounds of me. You sure squeezed my hand. Great job, asshole. Now I can't shake for 2 weeks because I had a broken hand. Like, I'll call it out. Who thinks that right away when I call somebody out, they're either laughing like Julie or they're even going to puff even more? So what happens is when you get off neutral, it's either going to be positive or negative. And from that 20, if you're on goal, we're going to have 5 conversations. Because you ever shake someone's hand and you're like, yep, not my people. For example, Sarah Hamrick, who called during Friday's call, the first time she saw me, I was driving a Prius with my face on it. She goes, not my people. Our first 50 was negative. I never even knew it because we didn't have an energy exchange. She's just like, I don't need to know her. Him. Now, at some point, we had a 20 where maybe she had a conversation with my wife and thought, gosh, she's pretty awesome. So he can't be all that bad if he scored her. Where we ended up getting to a 5 where we actually had an exchange as 2 human beings. Who thinks once we had an exchange as 2 human beings, it shifted from negative to, yeah, I judged you based on a snapshot, but who you are being and what you're doing, I'd like to have a relationship with you. If you're on goal, you want to have 5 conversations a day. Here's why. 5 conversations a day is sustainable to follow up with. So once we have a conversation with someone, we want to get 6 things. We want to get their name. We want to get their address. We want to get their phone number, their email, their social media handle, and then one additional thing like what was the source? So you can pick whatever that last thing is. Now, the reason we're doing that is we're putting that into a human base, right? This is just database 101 management, right? Yet what we're doing is we are consciously saying we'd like to build a relationship with them, and we're going to label them as an A, a B, or a C. They can't be a D any longer. A D is someone that we haven't met yet, because we can have as many people as we want through doing videos and everything else seeing us, yet we can only have so many relationships. So once we actually have a conversation, we're going to label them as an A, B, C, or D, or A, B, C, or F. F means forget about them. For example, if I sized you guys up and you said something racist, and I had that happen once where somebody said something off key, and I was like, right away, they might be a great person, but that snapshot was enough for me to say, I don't need to know anymore. In fact, I had someone in my house once say, those Mexicans. I was like, what? He goes, you know, those Mexicans. I said, no, Pat, I think it's time for you to leave. There's no such thing as those Mexicans, and there's no such things as us. You can leave. Who thinks that the closer they are to your home, so to speak, the higher your standard is? Now, if I was in their home, am I most likely just going to excuse myself than have a battle? Probably. if we're out at a school event, is there a good chance that I'm probably going to pick my battle and not make a scene right there? However, I might go do it somewhere else. So again, what we're looking to do here is we're looking to create standards and principles so we think less. There's another rule of Hank. Think less. The less you think, the better results that you're going to get, because they're going to happen off of standards and principles. So once you have the 5, we're going to label them an A, B, C, or F. Now we need to follow up. Well, one of the ways that we follow up is put Facebook on our sides. So for example, if, oh my gosh, Natria, now I'm overthinking it. Is it Natria? Natria. Just like that.
Yep. Like net tria.
Ooh, net's tria, like net versus gross. All I care about is the net, and all I care about is Natria. So Natria, we're friends on Facebook, right?
Yes.
So now that I know that we're friends, what I would automatically do after the interaction is go there. And remember, I'm going to look at her as an A, B, or C. Natria, what do you think you should be, an A, B, or C?
I think that right now I should be a B.
Okay, perfect. So if she's going to be a B, who thinks that's reasonable that she would say, hey, I'm a B? It's not an A yet. There's not enough time on task. And you want to match energy, because let's say she wants to be an A, but I'm going to see her as a B or a C. Does it sometimes get creepy when somebody wants something more than what you want or what's reasonable? Who's ever had someone treat them like an A and you're like, okay. So we want to make sure that we mirror match. And Natria, all day long, I would look at that as a B. So let's see. And again, this is good because sometimes we teach things, and we're going to go here. We're going to go to friends, and we're going to edit list. Now, Facebook has been looking to take it away from us, is looking to take it away from us. So let's just look here. Let's look at all the things that we could end up labeling her as. Natria, where are you out of?
I'm Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix, Arizona. Are you with EXP?
Yes, I am.
Perfect. And who did you join through?
Julie Younger.
Oh, I love Julie.
Yeah.
So now let's look at this. Let's look at the trigger. I think Julie's awesome. Now this gives me a reason to go reach out to Julie. Are we seeing how now we're looking to connect things together? So when we're looking to make the 50, the 20, the 5, and the 1, we're looking for reasons to do the next thing. So right away, did you guys see that what I was doing was I was labeling very quickly what they might be as a friend. So you'll see I labeled her as a B. You see I labeled her as a prospect for 36 to life. You'll see here, I asked the question like, are you with EXP? Kind of a forward question, right? Yet as we start to get to know each other, can we ask questions like, Natria, are you married?
Yes.
Perfect. So like we're asking these questions because we're going to make assumptions. And we know when we make assumptions, you make an ass out of you and me. So be careful making too many assumptions. Yet what we're doing is we're starting to use emotional intelligence on what's going to work well and what's not going to work well. So how long have you been married?
15 years.
How many years happy?
15.
What?
Absolutely. I made a conscious decision the day that I got married that nothing's going to affect that. Nothing.
Now let's look at that. We're moving from a 5 to a 1 very quickly, because who thinks that someone that thinks that way, I want to be around more, because doesn't take a conscious decision to be happy for 15 years. What else does that tell me? That tells me that she's happily married for 15 years. What are the chances of me being happily married if I'm spending time with her moving forward? Because that's her standard. Is if I was disrespecting my wife, would you stand by and not say anything? Or would you jump in and say, Hank?
I would say something. Absolutely.
How many of you think I expect you guys to hold me to my standards when you're around me? And if I'm not towing the line, because if I'm at a weak moment, I expect everybody to have my back and not encourage me to do stupid shit, because I'd love to tell you that I'm 100% always on, where I have the energy to hold my standards. Are there times where sometimes my battery's low and I might not be looking to make the harder choice? I might just be doing what feels good. So let's look at this. Natria, as I show you my standards and principles, right away, you're getting to know me better and saying, yep, I get that. I like that. Now, when I reach out to Julie, if I know that she's connected to Julie and I like Julie, how much more does that make me want to help Natria, knowing that it also helps Julie? There's multiplication there, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Now, let's look at this. Natria, it's my goal that a year from now, you can remember that I put you on the spot.
Absolutely.
Now, if you remember that I put you on the spot and we can look back and you post it every single day, who thinks that she's more likely to have more success if she posts every single day?
Absolutely.
Yep. So if we look at this, what's happening is there's multiple layers here. And if I can have one conversation a day where a human being, we both remember where we were, we can both remember the fact that I remembered her name by saying net because I like it's all about the net. It's not about the gross. And that was a trigger to help me remember. Who thinks that a year from now, if we can both remember it, we're both going to figure out a way to help each other along the journey because givers give.
Absolutely.
Now, here's the thing. If you give to givers, you'll never be able to outgive a giver. Fair?
Absolutely.
Now, what we're doing is if we can do the 50, the 20, the 5, and one of those 5 be a 1 where remember where we were, the math works. Now, what I consider a 1 might be different than what you guys consider a 1. And this is where we need the consistency. So once we have the contact, we're looking to have a conversation. Now, in that old class that I took, you can't text, you got to pick up the phone. There's not a good chance that you're going to get me on the phone. Who believes that in 2022, texting counts? You know, messaging back and forth counts. Like we're in a different age where like we've accepted there's a different way of communicating. And this is where I want some of you to realize sometimes when you get too far down the road, you're unrelatable. So don't think that you have to be in a different book to help somebody who's a chapter behind. For example, can a 7th grader help an 8th grader out? Say this. Yes. So when we look at this, once we have a conversation, we're going to correlation. So we took convert and relationship because converting a relationship just felt kind of like not in tune with what we're doing. So I created a word called a relationship. We're looking to create relationship because we're converting those relationships into something that we can follow up in. Now that I've gone and I've labeled her from a Facebook standpoint, who thinks that Facebook, just because I tagged her in some friends list, is now going to have us show up each other's feeds? I'm going to do this. I'm going to message her now because next thing I look at is anybody who I want a relationship with, I want to have a message with because now that's going to be the next level of algorithm, right? So when we go here, I'm going to go and I'm just going to say, thanks for letting me know Julie connected us. Now, you'll notice that I misspelled it. Do I care if I misspell something in a quick message like that? No, be human. Stop trying to be so perfect. In fact, I'm going to write this down. Imperfect action will be perfect inaction every single time. Imperfect action will be perfect inaction every single time. So here's the action items that I need from all of you. Post every single day. Any questions on that? What about Saturdays, Hank? I don't work on Saturdays. Great question. Post every single day. Now, the reason I'm going to ask that you post every single day is we want to humanize ourselves. It doesn't always have to be about work. And I'm not saying that your 5 posts during the week are about work, yet we need to be, and this is the 6th C, consistent. So notice we have bookends here. The first one is commitment. The last one is consistency. If you lack either any one of those, what's in between probably won't make a difference anyways, because it's not going to be predictable. When you're committed to an outcome and you're consistent, time on task will beat talent every single time. So when we're looking at this, we have to understand what we're committed to. So let's assume that all of you are committed to doing 36 transactions. Who's still in real estate full-time or would like to be full-time where you need to be doing transactional business? Okay. So here's where this simple math came from. If I have 36 A's and I want to do 36 deals, they're either going to buy a home through me, sell a home through me, or have influence on somebody who's looking to buy or sell a home. Now let's look at the math around this, because you'll see most of what I do, the math has to support it. So if you have 36 A's, they all know at least 100 people, right? If there's 3,600 people, that's 1% of the 3,600 people that you have to capture in order to do 36 deals. Who thinks that you're likely to be able to capture 1% of the business out there if there's 3,600 people all day long? The math is on your side. Here's why. In our business model, we'd rather have a referral than a lead. Let me say that again. In our business model, we'd rather have a referral than a lead. Because something tells me that Julie lit up when she talked about me. Something tells me that Julie gave me a raving endorsement that you need to go do his thing. And also, don't be a motherfucker. So when we look at that, I'd much rather have Natria coming to me that way than for me through Facebook ads trying to sell her on 36 to Live. Fair or unfair? Now, I want you to do this. Sell less. One of the things that we're doing is when you sell less, what happens is you end up not going after the low-hanging fruit and you go after what you really want. One of the biggest mistakes that people make is they get a hook on something. Hey, Jeffrey Dahmer, you want to see a house? Sure, I'll go show you. And because they mistake movement for achievement, they go jump, they go show the house. They don't know if he's pre-approved. They haven't stalked him or cross-referenced him on social media, blah, 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 blah. Are we cross-referencing social media? So for example, Natria, do you know how many friends we have in common?
I do not.
Who thinks that's a good sign when her and I have 6 friends in common? I look for signs like that. So if we look at this, this is where I'm going to get more bandwidth from it. So 6 friends. So when I look at her friends, is this a pretty good friendship lineup when we look at the first thing? So how do you know Rich?
I know him through Nakia Evans.
Ah, so you like, how do you know Nakia?
We connected online. I just saw a post of hers pop up from a friend and we connected from there. So had a nice conversation.
Now let's look at this. Nakia is someone who I absolutely adore. Now, who thinks that I could go put Natria in front of Nakia because of my influence with Nakia, that I can make that relationship stronger? Hey, Nakia, Natria is in my 36 to Life. What advice would you have her for her showing up? So that puts it on the radar, right? I sometimes will put you at risk with the current relationship to help you do what you need to do. Who thinks that I care more about you than us? And I'm going to find out real quick if you're an asshole, somebody who just talks a good game, or somebody who will actually go and do the work.
Absolutely.
So for example, who knows Dave Gagnon? Dave Gagnon was my sponsor, and he sent somebody for me to coach with one-on-one. I don't like coaching people that I don't have a relationship with, so I interview them as much as they interview me. Who does this sound like from your listing presentation, where when you're about to take on a listing, you're interviewing them as much as you're interviewing, as much as they're interviewing you? Because at some point, what you do is you realize that everybody with a pulse isn't your people. So you got to raise your standards and principles. And the reason we raise our standards and principles because we're playing the longer game, because we stop selling. Do people want what they can't have? Yeah. Who's ever felt somebody who's needy? Hey, Julie, you want to go out on a date? What are you doing tonight? Blah, 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 blah. Like, I know in high school, every girl I wanted didn't want me, and every girl I didn't want wanted me. Like, you got to find that balance, right? Does everybody know what I'm talking about? So let's look at this. We got to identify, do we have 36 A's where we feel 100% confident in this? They will either do a real estate transaction with us, or they will refer a real estate transaction to us. Because if we have 36 people that will do that, is there a darn good chance that if we just help enough people get what they want, you'll get everything that you want? So here's your homework assignment. You're going to take out a sheet of paper and you're going to list out your A's. Who are you spending time with? So if you're wondering who your A's are, just go through your phone and see who you talk to. Go through your calendar, assuming you actually have a calendar, and see who you spend time with, because who you spend time with by default is your A's. That's why if you get space with me, you're a good human being. So as you raise your standards, you start to ask more questions. Like I'm to the point where I bet that I can guess Julie and Mike's credit scores. Mike and Julie, I'll bet you're both over a 720.
I don't even know, but I'd take that bet.
I feel so confident that I would bet $10,000 that they're both over 720. Julie, would that be a safe bet with you? Now, again, that's emotional intelligence, isn't it? So when we're looking at this, what we're doing is we're looking at our 36. Well, most of you, when you do this exercise, might end up short. And then you're going to say, now what? That's why I need you to get this done before the coaching, because it's much easier for me to coach you once you've gone and taken action than it is for you getting ready to get ready. So here's typically what I see happen. Hank, I've got 14. Awesome. Hank, that's not awesome. I'm short. No, because awareness, one of my mentors once said this, awareness is transformational in and of itself. Now that we have awareness that we don't have enough A's around us, Hank, I've got 14 A's, I've got 200 B's. Okay. Well, what are the qualities that we're looking for in A's? And who are the B's that we can go upgrade those relationships? Now, Hank, what's a B? We'll talk more about that next week. Right now, what we're doing is we're looking to figure out where we're at. Now, some of you might say, well, Hank, I got 120 A's. No, you don't. Here's what I know about an A. If an A has a problem, I'll solve it. They might not like the way that I'm going to solve it. Yet, Julie, if you were in a spot, do you think Sarah and I would welcome you to move in with us?
Absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely. An A is someone where I'd actually take them into our home. Truly would. Same thing with you, Mike. If your family all of a sudden had a flood and I said, hey, I've actually had a family move into my lake house. Why? Because there wasn't any questions to ask. It was Thanksgiving, their house burned down, and we said, here's the keys. You can't do that for 200 plus people where you get into action. Fair? So we got to figure out where you're at, because once we meet you where you're at, it's easier to coach you from 25 to 36 than it is from 1 to 36. Do we all agree with that? So we're looking to get awareness. Now, here's what I'm going to encourage all you motherfuckers to do. I just wanted to see how some of you were to respond and seeing if you were paying attention. Don't take it personally. That was a term of endearment. I want for you to engage in our Facebook page. Hey, I'm at 25. What's everybody else at? Why do you think I want you to intentionally build community in the Facebook page? Chris.
Builds habits, builds a consistency of what we're doing, what we're talking about.
And here's you want to get good at something? Go help somebody else doing something where you're just a step ahead, because now it gives you a little bit of confidence that you know a little bit more. And here's what I know. If you're being something and doing it, go find people that are in the path with you and you can help along, because it makes you feel good, makes you feel a little bit more confident, plus help enough people get what they want. And then they'll be a little bit further ahead on something else and they'll jump in and help you, because givers never want to owe anybody anything. So I'm watching. I'm going to see who's participating in the Facebook page. I'm going to see who responds as a victim, who responds with anger, who responds with responsibility. I'm watching you. I'm interviewing you. I'm seeing who I want to be in a relationship with beyond this. Who thinks at 150, hold on, let's look at this real quick. I want everybody to do emotional intelligence. Who thinks that Julie, Mike, and I are doing this for money? So if we look at the $518,000 that I made through Kajabi, we've made $132 through this particular program. And that $132 is being gifted to a charity. So you might be thinking, Hank, why is this sustainable? Fair? Here's what I want all of you doing. If something's not sustainable for someone, fix it. This is a different mindset. Quick story. Who knows that I like Jeeps? I actually loved Jeeps at some point. At some point in my life, like if you saw a Jeep, you thought of me. If you saw a Jeep with the orange, you sent me a picture. And if you saw a badass Jeep, like you're probably doing a video. Like that's how much I did well with branding with it. I woke up one morning and I decided it was time to buy a Jeep truck. How much time do you think I spent looking for the best deal? I didn't. Would you like to know my process for buying that Jeep? Here's what it was. Figured out what my standards and principles were for it. What did I want? I wanted a white, black hardtop, 410 gears. And I didn't care about the seats because I knew what I wanted. There are 7 matches within 2 hours. I said, hey, I'm buying a Jeep today. Whoever can make my life easy will get my business. Do you know how much some salesmen screwed up the whole process? As soon as a salesman did what I said, I said, I'll take it. Another salesman came in and said, hey man, what's the deal that you got? I said, well, I've already got a deal. He goes, well, I can do better. Well, it's not about doing better. It's about, I said that I do it. The dude beat him by $2,000 and was, I think, 20 minutes away and was willing to deliver it. And I was like, dang. So here's what I did. I went back to the person and said, hey, regardless of what you decide, I'm still going to buy this vehicle from you. Could you help me out and just deliver it to me? Who thinks that's fair? Yeah, reasonable, right? So he delivered it and I still did it through. The other person couldn't understand why I did that. Now, let's look at this. Treat people how you want to be treated. Will I ever ask somebody to do something that I'm not willing to do? So do I want people going back on the offers that we did? No. However, do I also expect people to be reasonable where if there's something where it's a couple $1,000 difference and it's not going to hurt their bottom line, do I expect people to be reasonable just like I would? Is this making sense? Homework number 3. And Julie and Mike, I hope you're keeping track of these because I'm sure as hell not at $132 donated. I can't take on that much energy. Is this, what drives you bonkers about your clients? Or what drives you bonkers about your spouse? Or what drives you bonkers about your kids? Said to my wife, hey, Tessa's been kind of short and chippy and direct. I forgot how I said it. She goes, oh, wonder why. That's how you talk to her. Ouch. You watch. When something drives you crazy, the first thing you need to do is look in the mirror. Look in the mirror and fix whatever you're doing, because if you fix whatever you're doing, you'll no longer tolerate people doing it around you, fair or unfair. So if I want my little daughter to stop being snippy at me, what do I have to do to her? She was running late this morning. Hey, Tessa, she expected, let's go. Here's what she got. Is there anything I can do to help you? No, Daddy, I'm coming. Thank you. Who thinks that's a much better outcome by me saying, is there anything I can do to help you with? What the you doing? And again, so get awareness. Awareness is transformational of itself. So right now we're looking at business. So I want you to look at anything that drives you nuts about your clients that can't make decisions. Who's ever shown way too many houses they can't make decisions? So where are you taking too much time to make decisions? One of the things that drove me nuts was clients negotiating with me. So what do you think I stopped doing? I stopped negotiating with people, and then I gave them terms of how they can work with me and earn my business. So if you know that I like driving a Jeep, who thinks that it was trouble driving a Prius for me? The Prius represented, the Jeep represented financial security. So even though I could buy the Jeep, I didn't buy it until I felt what we had was financial stability for my family. So once I realized we had financial stability, I gave myself permission to go buy one. And here's how it went. I saw a Jeep on your lot. I'm willing to pay whatever I need to pay. I want to pick it up Monday morning at 9 o'clock. I have 1 hour. You'll have all the paperwork done. Anything you need from me prior to get me in and out in an hour is all it requires. Who thinks that salesman frothed at the mouth with me? So I sat down. I said, interesting. You charge me asking price. Is that how you always do it, or do you negotiate? We don't negotiate. Okay, fair enough. I'll be out of here by 10 o'clock, right? Absolutely, Mr. Avink. Perfect. So we're under the understanding if I'm not out of here, I'm going to take the keys and you'll have to come find me. Yes, sir. Hey, I'll buy my next Jeep from you as long as I get one real estate deal from you before I buy my next Jeep. Does that sound fair? Absolutely. So at 10 o'clock when the paperwork wasn't done, what do you think I did? Took the keys. They said, you're not leaving. I said, yeah, I am. Well, you can't leave until you sign the paperwork. No, we had an agreement. I negotiated on terms. Who thinks that time at that point in my life when I'm a bold coach, Julie, did I have a 2-3 hours sit at a dealer? Nope. So I took it. I had a dent in it before I signed for it. Now, do you think I went to that Jeep dealer when I bought my Jeep truck? Yes or no? Nope. Never once did they follow up with me. Never once did they even try to get me a real estate transaction. So did I feel obligated to go use them? Are we seeing how many different ways that I have standards and principles? And I don't think. I teach people how they win with me, and I teach people how they lose with me. Julie, what was the message that you just sent me?
That we were listing a house next month and you were going to get the FLQA out of us.
Now, then I asked the question, out of one of you or both of you, because it should only be one.
Right.
What was the
And
answer?
I responded, one of us equals both because we're a husband and wife team.
Perfect. Now, the reason I say this is because could Julie choose to have two separate caps to be two FLQAs? Absolutely. I don't think that's reasonable. I wouldn't ask her to do that. However, Julie knows that being an FLQA is important to me. So who thinks that she's probably ranched things up a little bit just to make sure that I win? You watch this. Do you think Julie will ever be able to outgive what I try to give back? No way. So Hank, where are you going with all this? Well, we know Mike's an A, Julie's an A. So who thinks that if they're not at their goals 12 months from now, I'm pissed off at me because there's something I could have done to help them? So let's look at this. Identify your 36 and ask yourself, will they do a home with me, buy or sell, or give someone a headlock referral where they work with me? And when in doubt, you're going to ask them, hey, Max, I'll role play with Max. If you knew somebody was looking to be more successful in real estate, would you set up a one-on-one call with me?
I would try my very best to.
Absolutely. I know you would. 100%. Now, who's ever had someone list their home that you thought for sure they would list with you, only to be driving by and be like, mother, am I the only one? So again, anytime you get an outcome that you don't desire, it's time for a new standard and principle. Every single one of your A's, you're going to have that uncomfortable conversation saying, hey, if you were to buy or sell your home, or if you had somebody that you heard was going to buy or sell, one, would you work with me? Two, at what extent would you go to refer them to me? I have people that will literally run across the restaurant to give me a referral. Who's ever had people like that where they, like, you went above and beyond that they want to figure out how to get even with you, they'll run across the restaurant. That's who I'm looking for. Now, I also want to be aware of where I've made assumptions. For example, a guy who stood up in my wedding. Who thinks a guy that stood up in my wedding, I can make the assumption that he would be listing his home with me? Well, his wife hated me. Why did she hate me? Because I didn't like her and I tried to get him to marry anybody else but her when they were dating. And so, like, who can have enough emotional intelligence where it shouldn't have been a surprise when Aaron didn't list with me? Yep. Now, does that mean that he's not going to be an A in my life? No, that's not going to mean that he's not going to be an A in my life. But could I ask Aaron, hey, I understand you can't do it, but could you refer somebody to me? And Aaron's like, all day long, you know, I just can't work with you, right? Yeah. Emotional intelligence. See, if we ask all of them, now there's an expectation. Hidden agreements will ruin relationships. There's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy. And a lot of people will say, well, if I do this, then this person will do this. Well, no, you can't have that expectation unless you have the conversation. So the closer you are, the more clear I'm going to be with my expectations. Mike, that's awesome that you want to set Chris up on a call with me. Did you remind him that if he doesn't show up, that's a strike against you? And are you confident that Chris will show up?
You know, I would.
See, what I've done is I used to be excited about referrals, but who's ever gotten a referral only to find out that they were an asshole? Hey, Mike, I appreciate that referral. Yet, you know, he wasn't very nice to his wife and I almost knocked him out. Like, who's ever been in a situation where you appreciate the referral, but you'd rather not have had that referral because the person was a jerk? We teach people how to give us referrals. Hey, Mike, referrals like that, would you just give them to somebody else? Here's what I'm looking for out of referrals. I'm looking for good people. And I get that so-and-so is buying a $500,000 house, but unless I'm missing something, did I get him on a bad day or is this guy just always an asshole? Like, who thinks I've had conversations with like people like that have given me referrals? We raise the standards. We teach people how to treat us. Now, here's a rule. Don't go all Hank right away. You'll screw it up. Pick one standard to raise at a time. Everybody raise their right hand. I won't go all Hank. I won't go all Hank. We're just going to pick one standard at a time. So let's go back. You're making a commitment to post every single day. If we Facebook audit you and you haven't posted every single day, we might reject you coming into the next class. That seems fair, doesn't it? You are going to identify your top 36 so that when we come to the coaching call on Monday, or on Wednesday, same time, same place, we're going to have things to coach to. Now, do you think if you ask great questions in the Facebook group, we might start with the people who ask the questions in the Facebook group, or Mike or Julie might reach out to you directly to have a one-on-one if it's something that they want to help you with? My goal on Wednesday is to answer 6 questions. My goal on Wednesday is that each and every one of you have performed the 50 today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. How much do you think you're going to learn by going and doing it? Well, Hank, I've only got 500 friends. Well, guess what? Through quantity will come quality. Because with 500, are you going to have a lot tougher time doing the 50 than if we're at 5,000? So next challenge. If you're not at 4,000 friends, we got to grow. Let's look at if you're on goal. If you're on goal, I want you to friend 5 people a day. If you're off goal, you're going to friend 10 people a day. Now, ladies, I'm going to apologize on behalf of all the good men out there. Should we use emotional intelligence when we're friending and when we're sliding into DMs? Yes or no? Yes. When you're friending people, please use emotional intelligence and act as if the people that you love and care about are right over your shoulder. Fair or unfair? Is this making sense? Now, the reason we're doing this is we want people to meet us where we're at today. So go and look at your Facebook page and say, hey, if somebody was judging me, is this what I want as my snapshot of me? So who wants to be put on the spot? Natria. Obviously, Natria is the only one that's willing to be put on the spot today. Good Lord, know that I'm going to be asking questions like this. And if you want to go further, raise your hand. So Natria, I'm going to look at your page.
Okay.
Let's look at this. Great picture. I would not recognize you today with what your picture is. Now, is that good or bad? I don't know. I'm indifferent. I'm just saying, I don't know that I would have recognized the two. For example, a lot of people don't recognize me when I'm not wearing a hat because they're so used to me seeing me with a hat. What I like is I can tell that you're with EXP. I can tell that you're a professional real estate agent. And does professionalism show through here? Yes or no?
Yes.
Natria, I don't know that it shows your personality the way that I felt it in this hour-long exchange. Is that fair?
That
And
is
is that
fair.
intentional?
It is the initial presentation.
Okay. And again, as long as someone's being intentional, who am I to know? I just want to make sure the audio's matching video. And if that's your intention, that's awesome. So now when we look at this, I'm just looking right away. And this is how most people do it. They're looking to judge, to disqualify, whether we like that or not, because as soon as we have more coming in than what we can handle, I'm looking for something that shows me that she's on crazy island. Now, let's think about this during the election time. Whether you like Biden or Trump, if I came to you and your whole page was all that bullshit, there's a good chance you're not my people. Especially if I come back now that the election's done, and I'm still not seeing a political theme. Here's my feeling is unless you're willing to die on that sword all 4 years, shut up. Now, again, doesn't mean that it has to be right for everyone. Yet if you fight too many battles on too many fronts, guess what? You're not going to win the war. In fact, unless you were close to me, you'd be hard pressed to know what I liked and what I didn't like about politics. So much so, my wife, who is an A+, I wouldn't even comment or like or do anything on her post. And she finally said this: "You don't have my back." Tell me more. You don't like my posts, you don't comment, you just seem to not care. Radio silence. Who thinks that me, if I cared politically, it would affect us? If there's not a relationship, I have many friends that are on the opposite side, but guess what? There's a relationship, so we can both learn from each other and we truly seek to understand. So I don't want everybody around me to be all the same. Like, in fact, I want people to be different. Yet here's what I did. I went and I started punching the punching bag to the point where my knuckles were bleeding. Why? Because anytime you have a feeling that you choose not to have, don't get into action. Who thinks that if I would have reacted to my wife right there, I would have gone off? So rather, I put it in the punching bag. So when I put it into the punching bag and she came out because she knew whatever she said at the time probably was unfair or was pretty straight. She came out and she's like, "What's wrong with you? Are you drunk?" And I held up my hands and I said, "I have your back. Get ready." Our income most likely would have decreased by 50% overnight, because if my wife doesn't think I have her back, oh, she'll see it and it's going to go off. Cooler heads prevailed, and what was her perspective wasn't my perspective. And who thinks through communicating and having a little bit of friction, we could see ways that we could both get what we wanted. Did my wife want me to blow up our business in that situation? No. The reason I share this is awareness is transformational in and of itself, which means we got to have real conversations. So identify your 36, and your challenge is ask yourself, when was the last time you had a real conversation with them? Are you aware of the struggles that they're going through? Are you aware of their obstacles? Are you aware of their season? Have real conversations with your A's. If you're an A in my life, I know it's important to you. I have an idea of what struggles you've gone through, you're going through. I have an idea of what seasons of your life you're in. And guess what I'm asking myself every single day? How can I help this person? How can I move them forward? How can I add value? And if you take care of your A's, will they take care of you? Say yes. So identify your 36, post every single day, and do your 50. Any questions on that? Yes, Mason.
The 36, does that include real estate agents too? Are these, I'm asking because then it's,
Yes.
because agents aren't going to refer business, right? So what?
I don't know. Here's what I know. I've done more business with because of other real estate agents, may not directly, yet indirectly. Who thinks Hank was a pretty easy person to do a real estate deal with? I was tough, but fair. Who thinks that other real estate agents like doing deals with me? I can tell you this, I've had real estate agents in my A's that had more of an impact on my business than my non-real estate agents because they helped me find deals. Bill Sycamore, he's someone in our town. We're buying a property. He's one of the top agents. I called Bill this morning. He's a real estate agent. Who thinks that Bill, with me buying another property, has helped giving me some quick insight on that? Now, here's what we got to be able to do. We got to be able to look at our A's and say, okay, are there 36 deals in here? So if I have a real estate agent, those deals might be indirectly. So I might need another A that's a business owner. For example, I like business owners because business owners get more quantity of people that they talk to than maybe my wife, who is a quote unquote housewife. Now, who thinks that my housewife also knows a lot what's going on at the school, and she works way harder than me. So I'm not trying to discount anything. We got to look at, there's people that can have multiplication. And here's what you got to be able to do, Mason. Look at your 36 and see if you have a championship team. Well, what's a championship team with you? It's not always about money. It's not always about just one thing. You have to say, if these are who I'm spending my time with, what's the math equation on me getting everything else that I want? If I have 36 single white males in my 36, and one of my goals is diversity, what are the chances of me having much diversity if they're all white when I look on the, around me? So Natria, do you think that there was any, like it was by coincidence that the fact that you raised your hand and Chris raised it at the same time that I picked you? There's not, because guess what? If I want more diversity, what do I got to do? If everything's equal, guess what I'm doing? I'm picking Natria. Why? Because when I look around, I see too many white folks. Now, that might be uncomfortable and that might be out of line and that might not be PC. Yet, Natria, if I'm out of line there, would you let me know if I'm being dumb?
Absolutely.
Now, are you offended by the fact that you got an opportunity just because there's something that I'm trying to work on?
Nope. I'm here to learn and glean and be able to provide what I know. Absolutely.
Now, once you get in the door, you got to stay there. Does everybody get that? So if you look, what are the things you're looking for? And then what are you doing to give yourself an opportunity to have more chances with that? So Mason, I know that doesn't answer your question. And this is where Wednesday we can go into it. And I can say, okay, Mason, let's look at your 36. How many of them are going to help you get real estate deals? How many of those are going to help you with attraction? How many of them are going to help you be a better human being? And we got to look at the mix, because if you want a championship football team, do you want 11 Tom Brady's on the field? Tom Brady's a great quarterback, but is he going to make a great center? I don't know. The guy's pretty amazing. He might, but at the end of the day, it's physics, right? He's not 350 pounds. So chances are you need a 350-pound center. Does that make sense, Mason?
Yes, it does.
Perfect. Who found value in today's call? This is the most I will talk is on week one. So on week one, on Wednesday, same thing, come and ask your questions. And if you have questions, ask in the group and I will be active in there. Can everybody see that for Mike, Julie, and I? We're not making enough money, so we need you to do your part too. Is that fair? Okay. Bye, everybody.